Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, I continue bringing you the story of the single mother Ly Hoai Ca and the police officer Hùng. In the previous episode, while on duty, Hùng unfortunately fell into an ambush set by a smuggling group. Brutal blows struck him down, blood soaking through his green uniform. In that life or death moment, Comrade Minh and the team arrived just in time, pulling Hùng out of the encirclement and bringing him home to care for him. The days of recovery were an endless trial. Each time the wounds throbbed, Hùng clenched his teeth and endured, sweat pouring down like rain. Yet in those determined eyes, the flame of a soldier never once faded. Minh was always by his side, caring without rest. Minh's wife and children were tender and thoughtful. Every steaming bowl of porridge, every pill was prepared with care. His comrade's home became a steadfast shelter where Hùng truly felt the warmth of brotherhood. At night, when the moonlight spread across the porch, Hùng often sat quietly by the window. A deep longing welled up in his heart for the small wooden house in the countryside. He missed Hoai Ca, hard-working yet gentle, missed Mother Ha's devotion, and even the innocent laughter of little Tony learning to speak. Those cherished images gave him the strength to slowly rise again, to learn how to walk once more. After many days of medicine and rest, the wounds began to heal, and his health gradually returned. One soft afternoon, Hùng slung a small backpack over his shoulder. Before leaving, he bowed his head to thank Minh's family, his eyes filled with profound gratitude. His steps were still slow and heavy, but inside his heart surged with anticipation. Soon, he would return to the home where Hoai Ca and Mother Ha were waiting day and night. Stay tuned for today's video to discover the next developments. Don't miss a single detail. Every upcoming moment will bring us unexpected emotions. After leaving Comrade Minh's home, Hùng returned to the small wooden house nestled among the pomelo trees. The bamboo gate creaked open, and there stood Mother Ha, Hoai Ca, and little Tony waiting since early morning. Their eyes were filled with joy, mingled with emotion. In the days following the ordeal, the family felt as if they were being compensated with warmth, moments that seemed ordinary, yet were precious beyond measure. In the mornings, when dew still clung to the leaves, the whole family went out to the orchard together. Though his body had not fully recovered, Hùng insisted on pulling weeds and tilling the soil alongside Hoai Ca. Each of his movements was slow but filled with determination. Hoai Ca worried, often trying to take the hoe from him, but Hùng only smiled. "I can still do it. Let me help you." Meanwhile, Tony toddled around with a small watering can. Water splashed over his clothes and face, yet he burst into laughter. That clear, innocent laughter seemed to make the entire orchard come alive, sweeping away the shadows of the past ordeal. On some days, Hùng and Hoai Ca followed a dirt path into the forest behind their house to pick tender wild vegetables. A clear brook trickled by, its surface reflecting sparkling sunlight. As they walked, they talked about old memories and dreamed of a peaceful future for their little family. The cool mountain breeze carried the earthy scent of leaves, soothing every burden. Mother Ha, familiar with the forest trails, ventured a bit farther to collect rare medicinal herbs. She carefully selected each bundle of leaves and roots, some to heal a sick village girl, others to brew medicine for Hùng. The pungent scent of herbs mingled with the smoky aroma from the kitchen. The bubbling pot on the fire filled the wooden house with warmth and serenity. At dinner time, the family gathered around a simple meal, a plate of fresh wild greens, grilled fish over glowing embers, and a bowl of sour soup scented with newly picked herbs. Mother Ha served her children and grandchildren while sharing stories of the village who was building a new house, how the rice harvest promised to be abundant this year. Her voice was steady and soothing, like a lullaby. Tony chirped excitedly about the new games he had learned outside, his tiny hands illustrating each word, his eyes shining with delight. Hung and Hoài Ca only needed to exchange a glance and a smile to feel that happiness was complete. When night fell, the full moon cast a silver glow across the yard, draping the roof in a gentle light. Hoài Ca sat on the porch, hugging her knees, listening to the chorus of insects and the soft rustle of bamboo in the wind. Hung came out, his steps still slightly uneven, and sat beside his wife. He gently clasped her soft hand in his calloused yet warm palm. His eyes shone with gratitude and unspoken emotion as he whispered, "With family by my side, every hardship is worth it." Hoài Ca looked at him, her eyes glistening with tears. A tender smile bloomed on her lips, both comforting and answering the silent vow in his gaze. In that moment, they both realized, after the storm, what they held was not only simple peace, but also a fragile, priceless happiness. The next morning, as the sun shyly peeked over the distant mountains, the countryside was still veiled in a thin mist. A rooster crowed proudly somewhere, followed by the echoing bark of dogs at the village's edge, heralding the start of a new day. Hoài Ca slipped on her dark brown blouse, carried her familiar bamboo basket lined with fresh banana leaves, and leisurely walked toward the market. On the red earth path, dewdrops still clung to the pomelo leaves, sparkling like pearls under the morning light. On both sides of the road, children chattered as they headed to school, books in hand, their feet brushing against the grass with a soft rustle. The morning market was livelier than ever. Vendors' voices rang out cheerfully, fresh vegetables here. Field fish, just caught, mingling with the sound of chopping boards, clucking chickens, and quacking ducks. The aroma of fried cakes and sticky rice balls drifted through the air, blending with the earthy scent of wild greens still wet with dew and the freshness of fish just lifted from the river, painting a vivid picture of simple yet vibrant rural life. Hoài Ca stopped at a familiar stall to buy a few bundles of leafy greens and some small shrimp, planning to make lunch for the family. She kept her warm habit of greeting the villagers, her gentle smile earning everyone's affection. Just as she was about to leave, her gaze fell upon a tea stall under the ancient banyan tree, where villagers often gathered in the mornings. There sat a stranger. His build was lean but sturdy, dressed in a faded shirt with frayed shoulders, a pith helmet pulled low to cover half his face. He sat at ease, holding a small teacup, sipping slowly as his sharp eyes scanned the passing crowd. When Hoài Ca walked by, he suddenly spoke, his tone casual, but with words that seemed to burrow into the listener's mind. "I heard Officer Hung lives around here now? Does he often leave home for work?" The question cut through the market's lively noise, making Hoài Ca's heart skip a beat. The basket in her hand trembled slightly as her grip tightened. A shiver ran down her spine. She glanced quickly and caught the glint of cold, unreadable eyes beneath the helmet brim. Her hair stood on end, yet she forced a calm expression onto her face. In a steady voice, she replied as if it were nothing. "I'm not sure. He's been busy with work in the district for a while now." The man only curled his lips into an ambiguous smile before lowering his gaze, sipping his tea again as if he had said nothing. But the final glance he cast her way was enough to leave her uneasy. Hoài Ca turned away, walking faster than usual, her heartbeat pounding in her chest. On the road home, the morning sun was now blazing, cicadas buzzed endlessly, and blades of grass swayed gently in the breeze. Everything around her looked as peaceful as ever, yet in her heart weighed a nameless dread. She had a strong feeling the man's appearance was no coincidence. The storm they thought had passed was only just beginning. That noon, the sun stood high, its scorching rays pouring down over the pomelo orchard. The air was heavy and hot, the leaves drooping slightly, while cicadas cried incessantly, weaving a dense curtain of sound. After a simple lunch, Hung and Hoài Ca decided to take a walk through the orchard, partly to catch the breeze, partly to check on the pomelo trees soon to be harvested. For the family, the orchard was more than just land. It was their livelihood, their hope through years of hardship. Yet, after only a few steps, both froze. Before them lay several fresh branches of pomelo scattered across the ground. The leaves were still green, the cut stems oozing milky sap that dripped slowly, staining the earth like open wounds. The clean, sharp cuts revealed that a sharp blade had been used, and the act had taken place not long ago. Hoài Ca stood stunned. Her heart pounded, her hands trembling as they clenched the hem of her brown blouse. The sight of the orchard, once the fruit of so many days of labor, now violated so brazenly, pierced her with pain. Hung stood rigid, eyes blazing with fury. He strode forward, crouched by a tree, and touched the gash. The sap clung wet and cold to his fingers, chilling him to the bone. His face tightened, brows furrowed, and his voice, hoarse with suppressed anger, broke the silence. Someone did this on purpose. This is no accident. Hearing this, Hoài Ca's breath grew uneven. Her eyes started around, searching desperately for any trace of someone hiding among the leaves or bushes. Yet all she found was the rustle of foliage in the wind, the cicada's relentless cry, and an uncanny silence that blanketed the orchard. No figure appeared, but the emptiness itself made her shiver. They locked eyes, their gaze filled with both fear and fury. The fragile piece they thought they had reclaimed suddenly felt more delicate than ever. Hung clenched his fists, forcing himself to stay composed as he scanned every remaining trace. Kneeling down, he spotted faint footprints pressed into the dry earth, leading toward the orchard's edge. The prints were light, the intruder had been alone, moving quickly, but clear enough to serve as evidence. Hoài Ca bit her lip, unease tightening her chest, her trembling voice breaking the silence. Could it be, they've already found us here? Hung lifted his head toward his wife, his eyes sharp and resolute. No words were needed. A single nod was enough to confirm what both feared. He knew these strange signs were no coincidence, but a silent warning aimed directly at them. In that moment, a breeze stirred, rustling the leaves with a whisper like the forest's secret murmur. Hoài Ca clutched the bamboo basket in her hands, while Hung stood, staring toward the distant edge of the orchard. He understood, after those short-lived days of peace, the storm was returning, creeping closer, dangerous and unseen, targeting the fragile home he had sworn to protect. That night, the small wooden house nestled among the pomelo orchard glowed faintly in the dim light of an oil lamp. Outside, the heavy darkness pressed down, the wind whistling through the yard, making banana leaves slap against each other with an eerie rustle, like ghostly whispers. Crickets chirped, insects called from the bamboo grove, all blending into a picture of quiet, yet filled with an unshakable sense of unease. Dinner had long been set on the bamboo tray. Bowls and chopsticks were neatly placed, the scent of wood smoke and simmering medicine still lingering in the air. Around the old wooden table sat Grandmother Hung, Hoài Ca, and little Tony. The air was heavy, the only sound the wind hissing through the door cracks. Grandmother stared at her children for a long moment before sighing. Her voice sank low, each word as heavy as stone. "You must be careful. Someone is watching us. Those chopped pomelo branches were no accident. They've set their eyes on our family." Her words struck like cold water over the whole room. Hoài Ca shivered, her hands clasping tightly in her lap, her heart tangled with worry. She turned to her mother, eyes full of fear. If they come back, what will we do? This orchard is everything to us. If they destroy it again then. Her voice broke, unable to finish. In the flickering light, her face showed the weight of her unease. Tony, still too young to understand, only sensed the tension. He pressed himself against his grandmother's lap, his tiny hands gripping her worn brown blouse, wide eyes blinking with confusion and fear. Hung sat in silence for a moment before reaching out, gently squeezing Hoài Ca's hand as if to lend her strength. He lifted his head, his resolute eyes shining in the dim yellow glow. His voice rang firm and unwavering. "I'll stay home and keep watch. From now on, I won't let anyone in this family live in fear. If things get worse, I'll alert Min and the unit right away. We cannot let them do whatever they please." His declaration carried a strength that eased the fear, if only slightly. Grandmother Han nodded, her eyes glinting with determination. Though worry still clung to Hoài Ca's heart, the warmth of her husband's firm hand gave her a renewed sense of faith. Inside the small wooden house, the oil lamp flickered, casting dim golden shadows across the walls. Outside, the wind roared through the bamboo. Insects droned endlessly in the night. Yet within, 3 generations sat together, quietly sharing their fears and building a common resolve. No matter what danger lurked beyond the orchard, they would stand united to guard the pomelo trees, to protect their fragile home, and, above all, to preserve the priceless happiness they had only just reclaimed after so many storms. Late at night, the sky was cloaked in darkness, with only the full moon casting its glow across the dirt yard in front of the wooden house. Silver light trickled through the pomelo branches, glimmering like shards of broken glass. Gusts of wind slipped through the door cracks, stirring the dim oil lamp's flame and casting long, trembling shadows on the wooden walls, shadows that looked like faint, wandering ghosts. The silence was pierced only by the chirping of crickets beneath the floor and the bamboo leaves whispering against one another, as if warning of some unseen danger lurking nearby. As the family prepared to rest, the dog lying on the porch suddenly perked its ears and barked fiercely toward the gate. Curious as ever, little Tony rushed out at the sound. In the moonlight, he froze. Beneath the bamboo gate lay something small and crumpled. With trembling hands, the boy picked it up, a piece of paper. Scrawled in jagged strokes of black ink, written so hastily the letters nearly tore the page, were the words, "There are some matters you're better off not meddling in." Tony's wide eyes filled with confusion as he looked up at his mother. His tiny footsteps echoed softly as he carried the note inside. The moment it was opened on the table, the air in the house grew heavy. Hoài Ca's hands shook violently as she took the paper, her eyes widening in disbelief at the threatening words. Her face paled, her breath quickened, her heartbeat thundering like a drum. Grandmother Ha stepped forward, her aged eyes flashing with both fury and worry. Her brows knit tightly as she glared at the paper, her voice low and heavy. "They dared to leave a threat right at our doorstep, as if we mean nothing to them." Hung approached, his gaze sharp as a blade. He snatched the note, read it once, then again, his grip tightening until the veins stood out on the back of his hand. In the flickering lamplight, his face was drawn taut, both cold and seething with rage. Finally, his voice came out hoarse yet resolute, like a vow. "They think they can scare this family, but they're wrong. I won't let anyone touch this home." No one else spoke. The lamp crackled faintly, and the wind howled outside the porch, pressing the air inside down with suffocating weight. Tony clung tightly to his grandmother, too young to understand the meaning of the note, yet feeling the tension that engulfed the house. Hoài Ca silently clenched her hands, her eyes glistening yet shining with determination. Grandmother Ha sighed deeply, her gaze fixed on the door, as though straining to catch every sound from outside. The small wooden house in the mountains became a silent fortress. Inside, 3 generations sat together, each burdened with unease, yet fueled by a shared resolve. They would not bow down. They would protect the pomelo orchard, protect their humble home, and above all, protect the fragile but priceless happiness they had only just reclaimed after so many storms. And in the silence, the same question echoed in each of their hearts. Would Hung and Hoai Ca uncover the hand behind the destruction of the orchard? And hidden behind these threats, what more sinister scheme was yet to come? Stay tuned for the next episode to witness the tense and unexpected twists ahead.
Hello mọi người, lại là mình đây. Và đây là 1 phút cuối video chia sẻ. Mình tên là Quynh. Mình hy vọng rằng qua video vừa rồi thì có thể qua công sức của mình làm video cũng có thể góp một phần nào đó đưa đến cho mọi người niềm vui, sự may mắn hay gì đấy để cho mọi người có thể là giải tỏa sau những giờ làm việc mệt mỏi, cũng như là có thể giúp cho mọi người thư giãn và dễ dàng đi vào giấc ngủ hơn. Rồi đến giấc ngủ cái là ngáp ngủ liền luôn. Mong rằng có thể gặp lại mọi người trong những video tiếp theo. Cảm ơn mọi người rất nhiều. Hẹn gặp lại mọi người trong những video sau. Và mong rằng vẫn có thể tiếp tục gặp lại mọi người trên kênh của mình nhé.